The Galactic Council's message arrived on a Tuesday morning, interrupting breakfast across 6 continents. Their ultimatum was simple: Earth would participate in the Harvest Games, or face orbital bombardment. One human champion would face the galaxy's 12 greatest predators in a hunt across a designated moon. Survival meant Earth's sovereignty. Failure meant extinction. The world's governments convened in panic. They needed a soldier, an assassin, someone who could face alien nightmares and prevail. After 72 hours of deliberation, they made their choice. Captain Jessica, Jess, Morrison stood in the briefing room at Fort Bragg, her weathered hands clasped behind her back. At 43, she'd spent 2 decades in special operations, with tours that officially didn't exist in countries the government wouldn't name. Scars traced stories across her arms, each one a lesson purchased in blood. "You understand what you're agreeing to?" General Patterson asked, his voice heavy with the weight of 8 billion lives. Jess's gray eyes were calm. "I understand that someone has to go, and I'm the best chance we've got." 3 days later, she stood on the transport pad as alien technology dissolved her atoms and reassembled them on hunting moon Zirith 7. The atmosphere tasted of copper and ozone. 3 suns cast overlapping shadows across jagged terrain that seemed designed by a sadistic architect. Somewhere in this hellscape, 12 of the galaxy's apex predators were being briefed on their prey. The rules were explained through her neural translator: 72 hours, no artificial weapons beyond what could be scavenged, and only one survivor. The aliens expected it to be one of theirs. They always did. Jess had 12 hours before the hunt began. She used every second. The Vraxian were first. 7 feet of scaled muscle and cold-blooded calculation, they'd conquered 40 worlds through pure hunting prowess. Their champion, Kralvex, tracked her to a canyon where wind whistled through stone columns like funeral dirges. He found her scent, followed it with patient precision, claws scraping rock as he closed in. What he didn't know was that Jess had learned about Vraxian biology during her prep. Their thermal pits detected heat signatures, but they were nearly blind to ultraviolet light. She'd covered herself in mud from a mineral spring that reflected UV while masking her heat signature. Kralvex walked past her 3 times before she dropped from above, a sharpened stone driven through the soft spot at the base of his skull. His death was instant. She took his claws. The Kresh hunting pair came next, cybernetically enhanced felines who'd never lost a hunt in 800 attempts. They worked in perfect synchronization, their hive-mind connection allowing them to flank prey with mathematical precision. Jess broke their pattern by doing something illogical. She walked straight toward them, across open ground, in broad daylight. Their tactical algorithms couldn't process the suicide approach. She'd counted on it. As they adjusted their formation to surround what they assumed was prey in shock, she triggered the deadfall trap she'd spent 6 hours constructing. Tons of rock buried one. She killed the other with Kralvex's claw before it could recalibrate. By the end of day 1, 5 hunters were dead. The spectral wraith of Nebulan Prime was harder. Able to phase partially out of dimensional sync, it could walk through walls and strike from impossible angles. It had survived for 3 centuries by being unkillable through conventional means. Jess spent 8 hours studying its pattern, watching how it moved, how it hunted. She noticed something the wraith probably didn't realize about itself: when it phased, it left a distortion in the air, like heat shimmer. And it could only maintain the phase for 7-second intervals before needing to resolidify. She led it to a ravine with a single narrow bridge. When it phased to attack, she dove aside. The wraith materialized mid-strike, its momentum carrying it over the edge. It could phase through walls, but not through gravity. The fall killed it just the same. The hive mind drones of Sector 9 attacked in a swarm, thinking numbers would overwhelm her. They didn't understand human warfare. Jess had fought insurgents in urban combat, had learned that swarms have a weakness: cut off the head, the body dies. She tracked their neural signals to the queen drone and killed it with a spear made from scavenged metal. The others simply stopped, their collective consciousness severed. On the final night, only one hunter remained, Archon Tholmar of the Void Serpents, undefeated champion of 300 hunts, whose species had been killing since before Earth's dinosaurs walked. They met at dawn on the third day, in an arena of broken pillars and ancient stone. Tholmar was massive, 15 feet of midnight scales and impossible speed, with venom that could dissolve steel. "You've survived by luck, human," Tholmar hissed, its 3 tongues tasting the air. "That ends now." Jess stood her ground, covered in mud, blood, and exhaustion. In her hand, a simple weapon, a club wrapped in salvaged wire. "You aliens always make the same mistake," she said quietly. "You think we're prey." The Archon struck like lightning. Jess moved like water. She'd studied every one of its kills available in the Galactic database during her 72 hours of prep. She knew how Void Serpents attacked, knew their patterns, their preferred striking angles. She'd survived 2 decades of combat by learning her enemies better than they knew themselves. The fight lasted 4 minutes. Jess walked away. Tholmar didn't. When the extraction beam took her back to the council chambers, the assembled aliens stared in shocked silence. 12 of the galaxy's greatest hunters lay dead. One human stood victorious, bleeding from a dozen wounds, but unbowed. "How?" the council leader finally asked. Jess met its eyes with the calm certainty of someone who'd walked through hell and emerged tempered like steel. "You sent hunters. We sent a soldier. There's a difference." She paused at the threshold, looking back at the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. "Tell the galaxy that Earth doesn't surrender. Tell them we don't lose. And tell them that if they ever threaten us again, next time we won't send just one." Captain Jessica Morrison returned to Earth not as a survivor, but as a legend. The galaxy learned that day what humanity had always known: we might not be the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced. But we are, without question, the most dangerous.